Gotta change my answering machine now that I'm alone. 'Cause right now it says that we can't come to the phone. And I know it makes no sense 'cause you walked out the door. But it's the only way I hear your voice anymore.
It's ridiculous. It's been months for some reason. I just can't get over
Can't
it.
get over us.
That was pretty good. I think that was the best intro you had. Then you
Was that
got,
the best one that I had?
yeah, but then it got super nasally at the top.
Hey, we slowly getting better.
Hey, that's what it's
Week by
about.
week, baby.
No, definitely. I felt that a little bit. I was like, that was pretty fucking good. What's up with you? Where you at, Peter? Got a little change of scenery.
Yes, sir. Here in the recovery room for anybody who's on YouTube. Over here at our St. Pete Clearwater location. So, yeah, usually about once a month, or sorry, not once a month, once a quarter, I'll pop down here from Jack's to do a quarterly meeting with them. So it's always cool to touch base with them in person, face to face, kind of knock some stuff out, shoot the shit a little bit, grab some food. It's always a good time.
In with this location, you guys, go to dinner afterwards. What's the typical spot? You got a spot that you like?
Dude, so they take me out like somewhere different every single time. I think like last time we went to some like Mediterranean spot. I think like the quarter before that, it was some sort of like Thai spot. But no, they know all the like local spots here in St. Pete. So I'm always just like, yo, surprise me, take me somewhere good,
Oh man,
take me out to dinner. What's it?
what's
Remember
that?
that? I think it's like a Joe Biden bit from maybe like a couple months ago.
Oh,
What's up, baby? Take me out to dinner. Hey, yo.
the team just got bigger there too, right?
We added on a new PT in January of this year. So right now we have two PTs down here.
Nice, nice, nice.
Yeah, it's been an interesting change though, man. And we could probably save this for or go a little bit more in depth in this on a separate podcast. But it's been about a year now since we've opened up. I think when we started, we've had four PTs here, and then we just had a bunch of stuff occur in this last year, attrition, when we ended up taking it over and stuff. So yeah, good bit of changeover in staff. So right now we're just down to two PTs.
Nice, but pretty good upward trajectory, right?
Yeah, that's the plan, man. I think with every new experience, right? So it's my first time, um, you know, acquiring a clinic, onboarding the staff onto our culture, revamping systems and processes, everything, rolling out our marketing strategy down there, which was non-existent before. It's been a pretty big learning curve. I went in thinking that, hey, like my systems were super solid, super sound, right? And we're just gonna kind of rock and roll like that. Gonna be super easy. But no, it's been pretty big learning curve for sure. But I think like now we're about 12 months in. I feel like I have a pretty good understanding, a little bit more of what to do moving forward. We'll say, man, like marketing in terms of ads from like city to city is like super different, man. So I was talking to a buddy of mine who owns a marketing agency, and I was like, dude, I don't know why, but like our cost per lead, cost per booked eval down here in Tampa is just like so much like fucking higher than like what it is in Jackson. He was like, yeah, bro, it's because you're in Tampa. He's like, um, in terms of like marketing in Florida, Miami is like the number one most expensive place in terms of like paid advertisement, and then Tampa is like number two. I was like, damn, yeah, makes so much sense. So that was like a pretty big learning curve. So one of the things that we're doing right now is just like revamping a lot of our ad creatives and just testing a lot more. But yeah, it's good, man. So far we're heading in the right direction for sure down here.
Are you doing ad creative for both places?
No. So I'll come up with like general ideas, but they'll do like the creatives themselves, right? Because they're the face down there. Like nobody, I'll still be the face in a lot of the ads up here, up in Jacksonville, just because we're super active in the community. A lot of people like knows who I am within like the running community, pickleball community. So it makes a lot of sense to do that. But no, down here we definitely try to have them be in a lot of the creatives, and then also kind of put their own spin on it, right? So I'll kind of educate them. Our cool, like this is kind of the general angle that will go for maybe like a runner's analysis or something like that. Cool, like here's the call to action. Here's like what we want to say within the script, but then from there, like what are some creative angles that you guys can kind of think of based off of like the landscape that's down there. So a really good example would be like up in Jacksonville, there's a bridge that's like really, really popular that people run at like a ton. So we had like an ad that just like crushed for us up there. And it was literally just like a super simple video of like me like running along the bridge in the background with some like text on there, calling out, common pain points. And so one of the things that we tested out down here as well too is same thing. There's like a couple common places down here in St. Pete, Clearwater that like a ton of people like always consistently run at in the running community. So we filmed a couple ads down there with that in the background and stuff. So yeah, it's just, it's a lot of stuff that I've never really kind of thought about when it comes out to, rolling out a secondary location. But it's just one of those things that, it's part of the learning process, man.
Oh man, I think that's a good segue into kind of what we're going to talk about today, because it was definitely stressful as you're approaching it. But from a burnout perspective, I think this is a common question that we've been getting, surveying the people that we interact with on a day-to-day basis, the people that entrepreneurs that we know. I think everyone goes through burnout. If you don't go through burnout, probably not trying to do too much right in your day to day. And I think there's a lot of stigma around it where people are like, oh, if you're burning out, then you're probably not on the right path, or etc. Yeah, I just think in general, it's like it's part of like this hero journey that you're on as an entrepreneur. And even before that, right? If you're working in like an insurance-based clinic, you're probably burning out as well. But yeah, what are your thoughts in general when it comes to a topic like burnout?
Yeah, God, I feel like my feelings on burnout have kind of shifted and changed over the years. Um, I used to kind of think like, hey, like I just gotta push, 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 push until I can't anymore. But then you kind of reach this like almost like a negative pushback where you push so much, but you can't just like rejuvenate, and your amount of work output just becomes almost like a net negative, right? And it slowly kind of takes a toll into your personal life as well too. So I feel like entrepreneurship as a whole, it's really kind of like a tremendous self development journey that just slowly increases your tolerance, higher and higher and higher. And I think as you slowly increase through these different stages of entrepreneurship, whether it's hey, hitting your first 10K per month, right? Like I remember stressors at that time were like, hey, I just need to be able to make rent and figure out like when my next client is coming from. And then versus like, last year, a ton of the stressors that I was experiencing, it's like, holy shit, like we have this other location now. It's like we have all this payroll, like the ads aren't necessarily hitting as well. But over the course of time, your tolerance just slowly starts to increase, whether it's just by like created exposure. And I think everybody's a little bit different when it comes to dealing and navigating these different stressors that occur. I think at the very beginning, I didn't really know what burnout actually felt like. So I would just like keep going. But over the years, as I've slowly kind of like pushed the limits a little bit, I now have a better understanding of like, okay, cool. Like when I get this like weird sensation in my stomach, or when I, these other like kind of precursor sensations that my body will give me, it's a general sign like, all right, cool. Like get outside, like jump on the trampoline a little bit, get in the sun. Right. And so if you can kind of like have these little habits that I kind of will try and incorporate in throughout the day, it'll hopefully allow me to kind of, continue to increase my work productivity, my work output, so that I won't necessarily need to take these like larger gaps off. I remember like my first 2 years, I would like push, 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 and then I would force myself to have to take like 1 to 2 weeks off just because I felt like I needed it. Right. Whereas if we kind of do things a little bit more in moderation, take these like little breaks throughout more consistently, then I think it allows you to push a little bit more from a larger perspective throughout the year. But burnout is just part of the game, man. I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing. I think it helps you understand what your limits are, because you don't really know like what your like one rep max is, right? If you don't kind of really push for that. I think it's kind of similar to like working out, right? And so I think for us, and I know for myself especially, um, burnout can definitely be at times where you're doing a lot of things that may not necessarily bring you as much joy and fulfillment. Right? And so I think like when I was working in an insurance clinic, I was seeing a shit ton of clients and stuff, or even when I was in home health, I was still treating clients. And even though the volume wasn't high, the type of quality of care just wasn't good. And so I just felt stifled. But I remember, hey, like my first year coming out, I was, in the cash practice, able to see a ton of clients. It's still technically quote unquote treating clients, right? But it's like clients that I enjoy treating. And now for me, it's like, hey, my enjoyment isn't necessarily in like treating clients. It's more so, on the back end side of things, like, scaling up ads, teaching how our team, teaching our team how to, lead other members of our team and growing the team from there. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know if that was like a really clear, direct answer. But I think, yeah, it's just part of the game, and it's something that you have to come to learn to appreciate and understand like what your limits are. But yeah, what about you, man?
Yeah. No, I think you had some really great points about like, actually there's kind of two types of burnout, right? Like burnout where like you're not actually enjoying the things that you do anymore. I would say that's something that you really can't like work through. Like if you're in a clinic and you don't feel like a lot of purpose in your day to day, like you probably need to find different opportunities, whether that's looking for a new job, starting a side hustle, running your own biz, etc. Like putting something into play so that you feel like you've got control of your life again. Because there's gonna be a lot of times where you're like you kind of go into this kind of downward spiral. The other side of it, it's kind of like I'll be honest, kind of like what I'm experiencing now. It's like going back to zero, right? And if you listen to the Naval Ravikant podcast on modern wisdom, he says like the best entrepreneurs are the one that just know how to go back to zero. So when you're maybe you're in an insurance clinic right now and you've got a filled schedule, you've got some people coming through uh, the clinic that are recommending you directly, and you're starting to feel good. You went from 0 to 1. You went from not having any skill, right, as a physical therapist graduating, and now you're a physical therapist that has a full schedule and you're able to have some demand because people are like, wow, my friend told me to come here. You're amazing. And you'll start to feel burnout again, or you'll start to feel this angst when you go 0 to 1 again because you're very comfortable here. Like you don't want to give that up. And now you jump ship, or maybe you take a clinic director role, but in our kind of journey, we jumped ship and then we went back to zero. We're a business owner. We don't know what to do yet in this particular phase. And then you run a successful clinic, but you're only doing that on your own, meaning you are able to fill your own schedule. And you go to 0 to 1 again. You're successful. You can do this on your own, but now you got to make another jump. And this jump is hiring employees. You've never done this before. So you go back to zero. And then, you go through another jump where boom, you hit this. And I'm kind of going through this phase where I'm like, man, I am stepping away from like what I've gotten a lot of validation from, which is the treatment side of things. So 0 to 1 for me right now, we're like feeling this kind of sense or burnout or like kind of like weird, kind of like when you mentioned the inkling in your stomach, it's like, all right, I'm not treating as much. I'm focusing on trying to lead our team, focusing on like the ad strategy stuff, focusing a lot on the marketing side of things, which is our number one constraint. But there is this pattern where it's like you let go of the thing that you need to let go of to step onto the next step, but the letting go aspect is hard as hell. Just to go a month or two where you kind of like, oh man, this really sucks, and your day to day, you don't know what to do yet, so you're kind of like drained and burned out, or like you can't find joy in it yet because you're still mentally like, oh man, I am much better at treating, and I need to go back to treating because it's a very quick hit of validation,
Hmm.
and I feel
It's
like that can
you're
happen.
comfortable with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I wonder if, that's a good point. It just kind of got me thinking. Do you feel like burnout then, right, is also just part of the fact that you're learning something new? And the fact that you're learning something new, right, like you're leveling up, right, kind of starting back at zero, as you were saying before, you're exposed to this new environment, this new required skill set that you haven't necessarily mastered yet. So if we think about all the things that we enjoy, right, whether it's, like for me, like running, right? I was like, I feel like I enjoy running because I'm like somewhat decent at it. Like, so for me, I actually just recently started picking up golf, and dude, like, golf sucks because it's so hard. I'm not good at golf at all right now, you know, but it's like I'm starting brand new from scratch. It's like I haven't mastered the skill yet, but I'll bet you, like, if I keep at it and I, get better and better and better, like I'll probably slowly start to enjoy golf a little bit more, like a lot of my other buddies are, because they can actually hit the damn ball instead of hitting the ground, which I'm currently doing right now, smacking the damn ground.
So that's actually a good point. And I think here is like, I think you start to experience burnout more when you start to think of things relative to a result you're getting opposed to enjoying the process. Right. So like when I go from 0 to 1 again, it's like I'm not allowing myself to be happy because I'm expecting a certain outcome opposed to like, hey, when I go from 0 to 1 again, how do I make this journey more fun? I was listening to like a great podcast. Love Noah Kagan's podcast. And he had Ali Abdal. He's like a productivity expert. And he's like,
Yeah.
the best thing in regards to productivity is making it feel good and trying to make it fun. It's like, how can I make this thing an adventure? So if I could reconceptualize the situation I'm going through right now, right? It's like I'm taking this step away from clinic care, which is something that I take an immense amount of pride in, because most
Yeah.
of my time is spent learning about that stuff. How can I make this an adventure, right? It's like, oh, how can I make really creative ads? How can I write some juicy email copy that become a drip sequence afterwards? And how can I even still take like what I'm really, really good at and be able to explain things, to people that are interacting with our company and our brand? So I think that's another side of burnout. And we see this with like youth sports, right? It's like kids go to like AAU, they got to have these specialized trainers. Like, bro, you're 8 years old. Just learn how to fucking dribble. Just learn how to play with friends, and like you'll probably get further than someone that's like trying to force things to happen. So it's like I'm realizing through this conversation, I'm like, man, just got to reconceptualize it. Got to reframe this. How do I have fun with this? And the parts that aren't necessarily as fun, do I really need to do those things, right? Or am I just telling myself I have to?
Yeah, I love the fact that you said fun, right? Because I think a lot of times we take business so freaking seriously. But if we can find a way to try and like gamify it a little bit, right? How can we put little reward markers along the way that lead us to our end desired outcome that we want? Then it can be fun, and we won't take it, so serious. I think when we do take it so seriously, that's where all these like stressors increase, and that's where we slowly start to feel this like burnout that arises. But yeah, if we think about it, if we zoom out, right, at the end of the day, whatever issue that we're working on that feels like it's just compressing us and we're getting suffocated around it, we zoom out and we think about it, it's like it's probably not the entire like worst thing that's happening, right? And we put that in perspective. So I think that's one of the things that I've like definitely realized over the last, like I would say more recently, the last couple of months or last year or so, is like what's the worst case scenario that could happen. And when we think about the worst case scenario, it's honestly not the end of the world. Like we'll probably still have a house, we'll probably still have a job, right?
Yeah.
So it's like it's not that bad. So we could all use like a laugh every now and then. I think even though as business owners we try and take ourselves so seriously, probably a little bit too seriously at times.
No, I think that is, if we start to recap kind of things we talked about, right? It's like having some general meaning behind the work that you're doing, making sure that the process is still fun, and then not taking things so seriously. I think other things to really conceptualize, it's like, we're speaking mainly from one, if you're someone that's in insurance practice and like you don't know what you're doing and like you're thinking about jumping ship, we're still talking to you in this regard. But this one I think is probably more towards like the entrepreneur that's a little bit more ahead of someone that just started a side biz, right? And it's you start to neglect your health. So like that is one sure sign that like a burnout, if you don't feel it yet, it's hanging around the corner, right? Like if you're not consistently training, if you're not sleeping, like I'll tell you right now, sleep has become like so optimal. Like my fucking nose strip, I got my mouth tape, I got my
Let's
eye
go,
mask,
baby.
I wear my orange glasses, the blue blockers, and we have a system coming in right now that's going to cool our bed for us.
Holy
Because
shit.
yeah, it's just like a fan that's connected inside, and then you could essentially attach it to your bed, and it blows cool air in your.
Okay.
But I'm like, yo, I've been waking up the past couple of days a little bit warmer, and I realized
Hmm.
that like, when I wake up, I'm like very warm, even though the AC is on. So I'm like, all right, the days that I'm really trying to sleep in, I can't even sleep in because I haven't set up the environment yet. So I'm like, fuck it. This thing costs $500. If it improves my sleep and it says like on average it gives people like an hour more of deep sleep, I'm like, the ROI is gonna be crazy. I would pay 2,000 for this. So we're giving it a go. But I think health is a huge thing. Like if you're not consistently training, taking care of your sleep, even on like on longer days, like I'm not eating like fast food, right? Like I got like fucking sweet potatoes, vegetables, and like grilled chicken. And like I'm not saying I eat a little bit. I eat a big ass Tupperware of it, but that keeps me nourished for like the whole day.
I love that. If you think about it, right, like you as the business owner, right, are the probably the number one most important asset within the company. So if you are by far the number one most important asset, like you should probably do your best to nourish it, right? Make sure it's healthy so that it can be as productive as possible, right? So what are the things that we need to do in order to make sure we're performing at our best, right? Exercise, sleep, right? All these things. And so these are probably things that you have to build into your schedule and schedule things around them. They have to be like non-negotiables. Like for me, 100% like my workouts on a like daily basis are non-negotiables. Like I have that time specifically blocked out. Nothing else is getting scheduled in that time frame. Same thing with sleep, right? Hey, 9 o'clock rolls around, I'm in bed. And there are definitely times where, I let that slip a little bit. Hey, like I'm running maybe on like 5 hours of sleep and I can maybe sustain it for one day, maybe two. But after that, dude, like I feel it affect me so, so much. And I'm just like, my brain isn't as sharp. And so, yeah, like things that are important in terms of like the tasks, the things that you have to get to, yes, they're important, but nothing is as important as how you feel, how you function, especially when you are the number one asset within the company.
Yeah, there's like even like yesterday, like we have like a couple of webinars coming up for moment education. I was like, I gotta like finish. I gotta do these things, and I woke up in the morning. I'm like, hold up. Let me drink a fucking coffee. Let me get a quick run in, and I now let's sit down and kind of do the work. And I think oftentimes like we think like, all right, I will do something for myself after I get this kind of work done. Whereas like you should do something for yourself and it'll make the work a little bit easier to do. Have you found that flow work better for you?
Oh, 100%. Because if I put the things that make me feel good after work, it's never getting done. And there's always something to be done within the business, like the to-do list, the projects, the tasks. It's never ending. Right? And so, like, if you put yourself at the bottom, like it will it will remain at the bottom. So nowadays, yeah, like prioritize it first, schedule things around it. Like you'll just feel so much better, and you'll feel like, hey, the work is actually fun, enjoyable because you're in a much better mood. Whereas it's just like, oh, I'm constantly working, not taking care of myself, not taking care of how I'm eating, how I'm sleeping, how I'm interacting with your significant other, your loved ones. Right, all that plays a role within the business, and so I think a lot of times, right, people always talk about like work-life balance, but in reality, it's so integrated in together. Like how you perform at work impacts how you interact in your personal life. And same thing, vice versa, right? Exactly how we're talking about here. Like what you do in your personal life also bleeds over into how you perform within the business. And so, I think yeah, like take care of yourself first, and what that looks like is probably going to look a little bit differently for everybody. Right? And so you just have to kind of find the things that fill up your cup, understand like what are the minimum effective doses of it that you need to hit in order to kind of keep you performing at your best throughout the week, and then rock and roll from there. But it just takes time to figure out what that looks like for everybody, and you might slowly start to realize like that amount of dosing will probably change over years.
Yeah, and I think one thing to think about right in the back of your head, especially like if you're someone that's like managing other people, like you've grown your clinic and now you've got a couple of full-time employees. Think about how you react. There are some times where I'm like, in my head, I'm like, come on, bro, like just turn the med ball around so the number faces outwards. You know what I mean? Like the simple things, or like sometimes I'm like, yo, that is like a terrible way to roll up a yoga mat. Like that looks horrible. And the days where like it's such a big deal tend to be the days like internally I'm like a little bit struggling, or like, I'm feeling it. And days where like I just get up and I just roll it and I'm like put it back in, I'm fine. So like the theme isn't necessarily these external actions, but like what's happening internally. But I got to chat with like Mike Boyle and Kevin Carr from MBSC like 2 weeks ago, and it's hilarious because he's like, bro, no matter how many times you say it, you still gotta wipe the sink. You know what I'm talking about? Like if someone washes their hands and like they don't take the extra paper towel just to like wipe the sink, and it's like, as the business owner, it's just like there are
It's
certain
on
things
you.
you just always do, and like your reaction to it is always going to reflect the internal state. So if you feel like, oh man, my PT did this and like it's really getting me upset, it's like, bro, okay, how's life? Have you been eating? You've been sleeping? You've been working out? Because you probably shouldn't have any sort of discussion until you do something like that, because you're probably gonna say something you don't mean.
That's a great point, man. I know for sure for like my first like ever employee, it was just like every single little thing I would like nitpick and be like, yo, do this. Like, why isn't it like this? Um, and now I've kind of developed a general framework where it's like, okay, cool. Before you say something, like think about it again and feel like, hey, is this something that can be saved for later? Or, can we come at it from a little bit of a different angle? And now even better, right? Like I just save all these like different thoughts that I have, and I kind of just vocalize them to my clinic director once a week, and then he goes out and executes them. And I think it definitely comes across a lot better from him because his way of communication is way, 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 way better than mine. But yeah, I think going back to what we were saying, you can kind of just take a look at what your own internal health is looking like. A lot of times that will reflect on how you behave within the business. So if it's not looking too great, time to look inward.
Yeah, a couple of things I think that could help. It's like there's a new thing people been talking about. It's like raw dogging your walks, like no phone, no nothing, just going for a walk. And
Mm,
like I feel like a lot of times, even before, like I would walk Oliver and I would be on my phone, or like if I am like going for a run, I'm listening to a podcast, and sometimes just literally having like straight silence and going for a walk. Like what was it, on Sunday? Did the most random shit ever. Took Oliver for a walk on Roosevelt Island. It's like a small strip between Queens and Manhattan, and we're walking around, and then I find like a dope patch of like, it was just like a hill. I sit on the hill, so it's got like a perfect like decline. I'm like, damn, this man
mm.
relaxing. Put Oliver on my chest, and I just closed my eyes, and after about like 15 minutes chilling like that, I got up and I was like, holy shit, that's what the kids mean when you say touch grass and like chill out. But I felt ready to like do whatever afterwards. So something simple, like I forget they were saying too as well. It's like, if you're sitting or indoors for a long period of time, like taking like a 2 or 3 minute walk every single hour indoors, or ideally if you could see the sun, all of those things make a huge difference, right? And if you're in like a CrossFit gym or some sort of, if you're starting out and your room's got no fucking windows, like you should go see the sun. Like that shit'll help with the burnout.
Yeah, I think the term is grounding, right? Where you get outside, put your toes in the grass, be in the sun, and be connected with the earth. Whether it's some ooh shit or not, I'll bet you that shit probably works. I know I always feel way, way, way better when I'm outside in the sun for sure.
Yeah, there's if it's been around for a while and like people still talk about it, there's probably some merit to it. I think Naval Ravikant said it too in the podcast. It's like everyone's got all these rules and instructions for kids, but if kids have been
Mm,
doing this for a while, it's probably good. It's probably built into like our DNA. So like being able to be immersed in nature, there is like research to show that like walking in nature like dramatically improves like cognitive health and a bunch of other things. So like that's something that's huge. Um, in terms of burnout as well, like other things that I would say like in the past have straight up just been like too much like noise, like too much like comparison, and
mm,
when you're in like certain groups, it's always like you're always looking at what someone else is doing. It's like, oh man, when am I going to get to this person's path? And like, you don't even know that person might be fucking struggling, right?
mm.
Peter and I were part of a similar group before in the past, and like I won this award, and It's like essentially like the MVP award for the year. And Christy and I were able to hit this like revenue point 2 times quicker than the previous person that hit it. We did it within 18 months. The other person took like 36 months or something like that. And I was giving a speech, but I was like, man, everyone's like, what's the secret? How you doing? And I'm like, bro, I'm fucking burnt out. We just grinded for the past year and a half. And like I remember like that year, I like sat on a couch and I just watched a random documentary and ate a bunch of fucking gummy worms. And I did that for a weekend. I felt ready to go afterwards. But there's something like this weird angst where it feels like, oh, you got to keep doing stuff. You got to keep doing stuff. And sometimes you just got to fucking chill out. Like one of my friends, Diana, she kind of warned me about this back before, but she's like, you just got to fucking be sometimes. I'm like, what the fuck does that mean? But she's like, I think you're overly stimulated. You don't have like any peace and quiet. Like you don't have anything like built in that's for you. You say that like, the reading the books and all that stuff is for you, but that's still like too much processing. Like you just gotta like let your mind chill for a second. And I didn't like realize it until like again, like earlier this year. I'm like, fuck, it's kind of dope to raw dog a walk and like not think about shit.
Yeah. I think to going on comparison, right? Like what others, you don't have to let other people's goals like dictate your goals, right? Like I think there's nothing wrong with being, a solopreneur, right? There's definitely pros to that, right? Like you don't have to learn how to manage people. You can just be like a really great clinician. And especially if, treating is something that brings you a lot of joy, then you might as well just do that. Right? And you can probably fill up your schedule through just like, really good word of mouth. Right. And so just because, other people like want to scale to 7 figures, right? Or even beyond that, like doesn't mean you have to. Just because like scaling to these higher levels require like other skill sets that you may not have and you may not even necessarily enjoy. And so for me, like I love like learning about ads and marketing and sales objectives. Like this shit like drive like I could jam about that stuff for days, man. And so for me, I get a lot of fulfillment out of that. And so if I don't if I just take like a week off, right? Like I probably wouldn't necessarily feel like as happy like as maybe somebody else. I probably like, all right, cool. Like I'll probably train for a little bit, but I can only train so much. But for me internally, I just have this like drive to like create something to make the most out of the time that I have on this earth, as scary and suppressing as that sounds, right? And so you might as well find something that makes you happy and just like run with it. And what brings you joy and happiness might change over the course of a couple of years. And so I think, yeah, like a lot of times you can kind of just drown out the noise and reflect on yourself on terms of like, hey, take a moment, really think about, all right, cool, like what makes me like happy, right? You might as well just like focus on that.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that, man?
No, I think all those things hit because like when it comes to the things that personally I'm going through right now, right? It's like so much of like what I enjoy is the clinical side of things.
Yeah,
And for me now to make the switch, I don't want to say I don't enjoy it, right? It's zooming out and like trying to find like, all right, like I just got to wear a different hat. And it's a hat that like, you're not gonna, if I wore this hat immediately and I got a ton of validation, I'd be like, oh yeah, I fucking love this
mhm,
hat. But this is the hat that you don't get quite as much validation from because it's
yeah,
like,
it's a long term play, man. Yeah,
well, dude, whenever you evaluate someone, like I miss that feeling. You know what I mean? Like I haven't done an eval in 3 months. You know what I mean? Like so, there's nothing like doing an eval and like having someone, feel like a sense of like relief knowing that they're in the
yeah,
right place. Whereas like when you're putting on this entrepreneur hat, bro, it is definitely a lonelier hat than like the clinician hat. I can talk to a
because
shit ton of clinicians, you know.
yeah, I think it's because it's delayed gratification, right? Like whereas when you're treating somebody, you can probably make that really quick intercession change and get that really quick feedback loop. Like, "Oh, sweet, I'm doing something right. Like this person's feeling better. Awesome. Like quick hit of dopamine validation. Like my worth is there." Whereas like trying to increase like a your overall team's like sales rate or closing rate, that probably takes like multiple months. And so it's you're going to have a lot of frustration along the way because it's not going to go exactly as you think it is planned, right? And you just have to kind of learn and understand, like, okay, cool, like this is part of the learning process. The harder something is, usually there's a lag time in terms of like when the result comes. But when the result does come, like, boy, does it feel good to finally like be able to nail that sucker on the head.
No, for sure. And the 0 to 1 fucking sucks, which is why no one wants to do it, right? And after hearing that podcast, I listened to it twice. It's like 3.5 hours. I was like, that fucking makes sense. Like some people are so afraid to start over again, right? And it's the same thing
Mm-hmm.
sometimes with a sunk cost fallacy. It's like, I've already invested
Yep.
so much time in this, so I got to make sure that this works. But a really good entrepreneur, just like, I've invested so much time in this, but I can see that this is not going to be the fucking thing that drives it forward. I'm ready to start over again. But it's a constant process of like starting over again, and like learning new skills and the things that, I think growing up, when you get really good at something, you get recognized for that stuff, right? Then you take that away from yourself. You don't do it quite as much. You got to do something else. It's so inhumane to like what the typical kind of response would be for a human being. Like humans are like, I'm so good at this, so I want to show everyone that I can count to 10. You know what I mean? But oh wow, they don't prioritize counting to 10 anymore because I'm 15 years old. I got I got to learn a new skill. I got to learn some other math skills and shit. But I I've realized, I mean, I'm trying to sit in that more where it's like I'm almost reframing discomfort as like, oh man, this is dope because some fucking dope ass growth is around the corner.
If you're with Angela, right? Angela dropped that bomb last week on the podcast where it's like, hey, if it's uncomfortable, you better run towards it because it means you're growing.
Yeah. And that's why I was like, whew, this shit is hitting at the right time. I'm like, are we coaching or are you coaching us? Because that shit was dope.
Yeah, it was fire. Um, yeah, I think if people out there are listening and they just feel suffocated, they're burnt out, right? Just take a second and pause, like audit what are the things that you're doing consistently on a weekly basis, and like out of those things, you know, what are the things that you enjoy? What are the things you not enjoy? What are the things that are like absolutely necessary for whether you own your business? Then what are the necessary things that need to drive the business forward and or sustain it? Right? It's like, hey, if you hate marketing, but you own your own business, like you probably shouldn't be in business, right? Because you need some sort of marketing in order to keep the business afloat. Otherwise, you're probably going to go out of business, right? So I think, yeah, just a lot of times it's just understanding, okay, hey, if you're feeling a certain type of way, all right, take a moment, step back, review like, all right, what does my overall health look like currently? Am I taking time for myself? And then what are the current tasks that I'm currently doing on a day to day? Am I enjoying these tasks? Okay, if not, cool. Let me revamp my schedule a little bit so that I can fit in things that I do enjoy within my schedule. And then if the things that are currently occupying your calendar aren't things that you enjoy, but they're a must for the business, right, in order to move it forward, cool. How can I sprinkle in little like goodies and rewards for me along the way so that I can feel like rejuvenated or, have some fun along the way so it doesn't feel like it's constant pressure, pressure, pressure.
Love that. And last bit is just like, if you feel like there's a lot of shit to do, there isn't. I think you can easily feel like your business isn't perfect, but if you look under the hood of any business, and I know I know people that operate companies that are worth north of $1 billion, and
Yeah.
it's not fucking pretty underneath the hood, right? But what they do well is they identify the next barrier that they have to overcome, and that's just the theory of constraints. If you don't have enough discovery calls, then you got to get better at marketing. If you got a lot of discovery calls, but you're not converting them into evals, then you got to get better at sales. If you got a bunch of evals, but you're not converting them to plan of care, it might be a sales issue, it might just be a competence issue, right? Like you just suck at being a PT. But chances are, I would say that's not the most common thing that we see. But whatever it is, you can't identify problems if you're constantly thinking about stuff. So when you take a step back, look at everything you have to do, there's probably one thing that solves 80% of these problems that you think you have to do. And once you identify that constraint, you put all your energy towards it, that kind of expands.
Boom.
I,
Fire.
fuck, man. It has been a week, but were we at 17 last week? Were
Where we
we?
at, where we at this week? 18, 19?
No, we're still at
Break the
7.
big.
Hey, come
Break
on.
the
If you love what we do and you're vibing with us, bro, come on, let's get us to 20. Get us to 20. Come on. But yo, Peter, we've done 20 episodes, and I can confidently say I believe that 95% of podcasts don't get past 20 episodes. So we're getting there. We're fucking
we
getting
getting after it.
there. Anything else, Peter? What we got?
No, I think that's it. Super excited for our event coming up. Gonna be practicing my karaoke voice. Well, I'm getting practicing every week on this podcast. So
Let's get it. We got so much more coming up for you guys. Webinar coming up, lots of things in the works. So if you love the podcasts, we're definitely going to have some things interactive. Maybe we'll even do a live podcast where we just invite people to this room and you just ask questions and we'll just jam out. But appreciate
love
y'all.
it.
If that sounds good, DM us and tell us that's something we should do. All
Yeah,
right,
keep
guys.
getting after it, guys.
Peace. Let's keep getting after it.